with all the negative reviews out there, with just a 16% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with the entire base of critics saying that it's a terrible movie, that it's the worst comic book movie till date, a lot of criticism, a lot of people hated this movie. In today's review, I'm going to tell you my perspective. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to say probably the most unpopular opinion in my entire life. I'm going to say this right now, and I think if, let's say, the audience reacts the same way the critics did, I genuinely believe this is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. I'm saying this right now. I genuinely think that I'm the only human being alive who loves Morbius. Yes, I'm talking about the Jared Leto starring, Matt Smith starring Morbius movie. The one that was supposed to come out 2 years ago and now is here, finally. I freaking love this movie. I genuinely love this movie. From beginning to end, I think this movie delivered a experience I didn't expect. Now, this ain't no masterpiece. It has its flaws. It has its weaknesses. I'm going to go through all of that. Before I start off today's video, I do want to ask you guys that after the review, you guys let me know in the comment sections, what did you think of my review? Whatever it is, please let me know. Whether you're going to criticize me, whether you're going to be like, what the heck, Isaac, you love this movie? Yeah, I love this movie. I don't care. Here in the multiverse of movies, I'm always going to be honest with you guys. And yeah, I love this movie. I had low expectations. I thought the trailers looked good, but seeing all the reviews, seeing how they took away all the Easter eggs. By the way, let me tell you this right now. If you're expecting a Spider-Man multiverse movie, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. All those cameos, all those Easter eggs you see in the trailers, they're not there. Maybe there's one. There's one. But let me get into my non-spoiler review. No spoilers. Why do I love this movie? First of all, let me tell you the best part of it. Matt Smith as Milo, you know, he's the antagonist of this film. He steals the show. His acting is great. He looks like he's having a lot of fun. And you can tell there's a rage in him. There's an anger in him that I freaking love. And I love Jared Leto, but Matt Smith is the one that stole the show. I really want to see more of this character moving forward. His performance, his acting, everything was freaking stunning. Every single second Matt Smith was on camera, he goes from this depressed guy who Jared Leto, Milo, and Michael Morbius, they both grow up together with the same condition, and then they get old and they're still best friends. And this relationship, that's the best part of this movie. This movie is literally about friendship, about both of them together, you know, trying to do the impossible, both of them till the very end. And this movie does deliver a lot of emotions. I didn't cry, obviously. I don't think this movie is as emotional as No Way Home was. But it was a freaking good movie. It was fun. A lot of people said this movie was boring. I'm sorry. I love this monster flick. This movie is literally what I wish Hulk was in the MCU, where it's about this demon in a bottle. You have this demon within you, and you're trying to hide it from the rest of the world, but you realize you just can't do that. You can't do that. That inner rage, the inner monster in you, which is what I want MCU's Hulk to be. You know, I want to see what's his name? Mark Ruffalo? I think, yeah, Mark Ruffalo. I want to see Mark Ruffalo use that type of Hulk character that we had back in Avengers 2012, that we had back in Age of Ultron, not the Professor Hulk we have now in Endgame. That's what Morbius had. Morbius had a story of a man battling his inner demons, battling, you know, in filmmaking, when you go into film school, you're often taught, you know, different kinds of stories, man versus man, man versus the world. This basically, yes, it is man versus man, but there are things in this movie that make it man versus himself. And that kind of story is always impactful. That kind of story is great. I don't think this is one of the greatest. It's not like, I'm not going to remember this movie as a top 10. I don't think it's that. I think there's plenty of comic book movies that are far better than this movie, but I'll say this right now. I think that, and I like the first Venom movie, and I really, really enjoy Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think Venom Let There Be Carnage was an improvement to the first Venom movie. I'll say this right now. I'm saying this right now. I think this is the best Sony Marvel movie yet. We've had 3 so far. This is the best one. Morbius, to me, is a far better film than the first Venom movie, and it's a better movie than the second. Now, to be fair, this movie is different from those movies. Venom Let There Be Carnage was more fun and campy. This one does have a lot of fun and you know, there's a lot of fun gags. There's a lot of there's comedy in it, but it's not like MCU comedy. There is one character. It's one of the officers. He's the guy with the mustache. He is very comedic. This movie had a lot for it to offer. You know, a lot of the action was really, it's not like John Wick action. It's not all that great, but it's good enough. I do like seeing the echolocation. I think that's what they call in the movie when not Venom, when Morbius is looking at the surrounds. I love that. I think this movie is great. It's fantastic. And I'm going to compare the Tom Holland movies. I don't think it's as good as Homecoming, but I do think it's better than Far From Home. And yes, I'm going to say this. I think this is my single most unpopular opinion ever. I think Morbius is a better movie than Spider-Man No Way Home. I love Spider-Man No Way Home. You guys know how much I love it. You guys know how attached I am to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. But this is a better movie than No Way Home. And all the love to No Way Home, but this movie has exceeded that level. When it compares to the Andrew Garfield movies, I think it's not as good as the first Taz movie. Like I said, I don't think it's as good as Spider-Man Homecoming. So fair enough, I'm going to say it's not as good as the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. It is better than the second one. Now with the Tobey Maguire movies, it's not as good as the first Spider-Man nor the second Spider-Man, but it is better than Spider-Man 3. Mainly because you guys know I don't like Spider-Man 3 and I don't like TASM 2. And it is better than the Venom movies, even though I really like the Venom movies. This movie delivered everything I wanted. This vampire flick, this monster flick, this mad scientist story. I love this movie. I genuinely, so I went with somebody. I went with somebody to this movie, and I was telling them on the way that this is the first time in years that I would go into a movie expecting it to be terrible. I was genuinely, like, you guys saw me on my stream yesterday. I was saying that I have low expectations. I have nothing, even though I love the trailers, seeing the reviews, seeing everything, it really dampened my experience. Me thinking that this movie just wasn't it. And then there was even conversations saying this was one of the worst comic book movies. Let me tell you, that to me is not true. I think if the audience reacts the same way the critics do, I genuinely think this is the most underrated comic book movie. But we do have to wait to see what the audience thinks because, it's Thursday. Most people don't go watch movies Thursdays. So I guess I'm going to have to wait till the next weekend to tell you if that's true. But as it stands, I do think it is the most underrated comic book movie of all time because it was a great movie. Jared Leto's acting is great. I do like that mad scientist, story, I do like how he's challenging himself. I do like how he's challenging that inner demon within him. I love it. I love this movie from beginning to end. I love seeing his childhood. Although I'll admit Matt Smith's character Milo is more compelling than Michael Morbius because you do see more of Milo struggling when he was a kid. With Michael Morbius, it was more quick. Now, with that being said, let me go into some negatives. I don't have too many, but there are some negatives. The CGI. Yeah, you guys know, I rarely ever judge CGI. I'm not that big into, this doesn't look... I'm typically just the mundane. I just think there's some good CGI and then there's some bad CGI. I'm not too judgy, and you rarely ever hear me talk about CGI in my reviews. This movie did have some bad CGI. I don't care because to me, if your movie is solely based on how good your CGI is, then that's probably not a good movie to start off with. So this movie's story, its plot, the characters, I think did save it. By the way, I forgot to say this, but the love interest, a lot of times in movies, love interests feel pointless. Even in the Venom movies, I'll say that's one thing I never liked, the love interest. In this movie, I like how they don't just start off as lovey-dovey, but you see throughout time how much they truly did love each other from the beginning. So I do love that. But let me go back to some negatives. The CGI was wonky. There's some action scenes that do look wonky. I'm not going to say, again, there's no spoilers, but to try to be as vague as possible, there is a scene at the beginning when Michael first becomes the vampire. He first becomes the vampire. There's a scene where he's punching glass and he's moving around. That looked wonky. There's also a scene when he escapes from prison, which is shown in the trailers, where he breaks the glass. That also looked really bad. That looked like blue screen. Like it looked weird. It looked messed up. What are the negatives? The child actor who played Michael Morbius was not good. When he was delivering his lines, I genuinely thought, what? I'll admit, there are moments in this movie that feel stupid. And I'm going to spoil something from the very beginning. So this really isn't a spoiler. And I'm going to be as vague as possible with this. Michael Morbius at one point is fixing this machine that's supposed to help Milo stay alive. And he fixes it. But it's like a weird fix. And then it cuts to a scene of his the guy who took care of him. It cuts to a scene of him being like, oh, you're really intelligent. That's a machine that very few scientists have. They struggled building it. And I thought that was a little silly. I know they were trying to show you that Morbius was intelligent from the beginning, which he is. They do show in this movie that he's good with science. The post-credits. Now, I'm not going to say what the post-credits are. I'm not going to say. I won't spoil it. I know it's already out there public. The post-credits, there's two of them. The first post-credit was more just, really? That? I mean, they're not terrible. The first post-credit is a little bit like, you're kind of like, oh well. And you kind of move on. The second one, however, was more confusing. It was more confusing. And I'm not going to say what it is. But if you know, it felt that second, the post credits, I'll say this right now. Let's say you're planning on taking a friend who doesn't watch comic book movies. And let's say he didn't watch No Way Home. Oh crap, is that spoiler? But I won't. Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm not going to say what happens, but if you haven't watched No Way Home, the post credits for this movie might be a little, you're going to probably be like, what? And there's a voice from an actor. It's a very well-known actor. There's a voice of a well-known actor. You see the actor in the first post-credit, but in the second post-credit, his voice didn't sound like that actor. It felt like they had to get somebody to replace him real quick because they just weren't able to. That felt weird. The post-credits felt weird. But overall, I love this movie. I'm probably going to watch it again. I won't even lie to you. I genuinely had no expectations for this movie. And I even put out a tweet. You can go find me on Twitter right now. Isaac the Film Geek. Link description down below. Before this movie, like an hour before I went to go watch it, I put out this final tweet saying, oh, you know what? Wish me luck. I'm going to go watch Morbius. I really hope I'm surprised because I'm not expecting anything. Lord and behold, this movie shocked me. But anyways, that's going to be it for the review. I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by how much I love this movie. I don't think this movie is as good as like a Shang-Chi or Eternals. I don't think it's as good as the Suicide Squad. I don't think this is a top 20 best comic book movies. I forgot how many comic book movies there are. It's probably not a top 20, but it's definitely much better than I thought it would be. It is far better than I thought it would be, and I recommend it for everyone. And I'll say this, you guys know I'm a big fan of Jared Leto as Joker. I think he's great as Joker. I know that's another unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people are probably, I remember when I gave Eternals, when I said Eternals is my favorite MCU movie, I remember I had some people message me telling me that I lost all credibility because that makes no sense and that I'm only saying that because I want to have the unpopular. No, when I give you my reviews, I'm giving you my full honest thoughts on a movie. I'm giving you my 100% thoughts. I would never lie because what do I gain from lying? But that being said, when I gave, Morbius definitely is probably the most underrated movie. But when it comes to his Joker role, I like his Joker. I liked him more in the nightmare scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. However, I'll say this right now. His performance as Morbius is far better than his performance as Joker. It is far better. Now, to be fair, he had an entire movie with Morbius. With Joker, he only had like 7 minutes of screen time in Suicide Squad. And then I think like 5 minutes in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So to be fair, there's that. And I'll say this right now. I would rather another Morbius movie than another Venom movie. I know before this I was giving crap on the Sonyverse with this whole anti-hero thing, but you know what? I'm excited for Kraven the Manhunter. I'm excited for Madam Web. I'm excited for everything. And I know a lot of people are going to come out of this movie saying, oh, they lied to us because they didn't show the Easter eggs. Dude, the Easter eggs would not have made this movie better. I'll say this right now. I'm actually glad they didn't just randomly show you at Oscorp. They actually do have a newspaper with the Daily Bugle logo. But they still... I'll admit the promotion for this movie is a little silly because they promote it as Spider-Man Multiverse when this movie is not that. It's literally a story of a man battling his inner demons. So I do think the marketing for this movie is really poor. And I think marketing as Spider-Man Easter eggs, even, this isn't really a spoiler, but they actually removed that shot of this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and it's saying murder. That's actually removed. That moment was removed. I noticed that. A lot of it got removed. But I don't care. I'm there for a good movie. I'm not there for Spider-Man related Easter eggs. I'm there for a good movie, and that's what I got. I love this movie. But anyways, you guys let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of my review? I know a lot of people are going to discredit me because, the job of a reviewer, Whether you're a professional critic, whether you're just a nobody like me who just does it on YouTube for fun, the job of a reviewer is not to tell you what to think. The job of a reviewer is to tell you what their experience was, and best word what their experience was, and tell you what they thought and to recommend or not recommend this movie. That's the job of a reviewer. The job isn't to tell you what you're going to think, because film is subjective. All film is subjective. If you think otherwise, then you really don't know what the terms subjective and objective mean. I'll be honest with that right now. So if I get crap for it, if people discredit me for it, I don't care. I love this movie. I really hope all of you guys love this movie. I will say, do lower your expectations, because I went into this movie with insanely low expectations, and I left the movie just loving it. Even the person who was with me, she was surprised that I loved this movie. She was surprised at how much I loved it, because I was bashing it before the movie started. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.